Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 86 of the YarnderWoman podcast. My name is Melinda. You can find me as YarnderWoman on Instagram and Ravelry, and we have a Ravelry group for the YarnderWoman podcast, which you can search in the group tabs by that title. Show notes can be found at www.yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au. I am so happy to see you today. I think that this is going to be a lovely time together and I hope you enjoy it. Today will be another mix of some of me chatting as well as some vlog footage from the second half of August. So today is the 31st of August and it's the last day of our read along knit along. But I will record the winners for that tomorrow, but we'll slice them into this episode so you all don't have to worry about it. You'll be none the wiser, except that I won't be wearing the same thing, I assume. So today's segments are going to include broaching the subject, except we are hearing the subject because it's earring related. We're going to talk about a new opportunity for a prize for the podcast's anniversary. We're going to draw those winners for the read along, as I mentioned. Looking at works in progress and some finished objects. There's going to be lots of talk about some other knit-alongs that are happening in other groups, and I'll have links to everything in the show notes at that address just mentioned. So let's go and listen and hear the subject instead of broach it. Tonight I am going out to see a local Perth band called Web Rumours. I think I've mentioned them on the podcast before. I definitely have on my Instagram. They're a band I saw last year at a local music festival, and then I've seen them a few times around, and I really like them. Tonight's their album launch. I'll put a link to them down below in case you're interested. They've got sort of an 80s pop vibe to them, but they're, I think, mostly women. I think maybe the drummer is a man, but the main singer is the songwriter. That's Em Burrows, a Perth musician. So she's got a lot of feminist lyrics and that sort of thing. So the earrings I thought I'd wear tonight are these ones, which I've definitely had on the podcast before. The future is intersectional. Let me come up a bit closer. And that relates to if your feminism is not intersexual. Oh my goodness, I cannot say that word, can I? This is what I did last time. If your feminism is not intersectional, then it's not feminism. So something to keep in mind. These earrings are from House of Dizzy, who is a maker I just love and adore. As I said, I've definitely already shown these ones, but I've got some other ones as well. She is based in Melbourne. She is a woman and an Indigenous woman at that. So a lot of her pieces have Indigenous pride themes and female empowerment as well. I got these a while ago, but I just got a new order from her. So how awesome are these? Knitter earrings. I got these custom made. You can have custom ones with any word. They're usually names, like, you know, you have your own name or a business name or whatever. But I thought knitter would be pretty cool, and you can choose from her range of different coloured acrylics. Is it acrylic? It's not acrylic. What's that other word? Resin. Acrylics, resin, whatever they are. She's got different colours, so I went for black, red and silver because, you know, it's me, and I am so happy with them. So I'll definitely put a link below to her shop overall, but also to the page for the custom earrings, and you can do custom earrings, custom necklaces as well. I'm not affiliated with this company in any way. I just am a huge fan, and I think she does beautiful work, and I am very happy with those. Now, when she was making those, there was a little bit of delay in getting the order to me, which was fine, that happens, but she so kindly sent me a free pair of earrings to thank me, and I was like, you didn't have to do that, you know, it was very kind of you, gratefully received but unnecessary. But these are them. How cool are these? And they're red. Do you think she figured out my favorite color? Now, because these were so generously given to me, I would like to pay them forward. I'm trying to get, there we go. So we've got glittery red on the top and this beautiful bright red on the lips. So yes, I would like to pay it forward, and these are going to be part of the prize for the podcast 5th anniversary. That was back in July. It was July 22nd, and that plus my birthday on July 21st are the impetus for the read along, which we're wrapping up today as filming. It will be finished by the time you see this. So yeah, the read along is a celebration of that, but I thought we should really have a giveaway. And then when these arrived, it was solidified. So we're gonna have these gorgeous earrings. They are pierced, just so you're aware, as opposed to clip-on. And we're gonna have this beautiful sock yarn, which was kindly donated to us by Jana. So it's mint rain yarn, and it's the Tough Sock base, 75/25, and it's the Zombie Love colorway. So it's self-striping, and the skein is split into two so that you can have your two socks going separately, or you don't even have to worry about, you know, splitting it. You don't have to knit them together, but you don't have to worry about rationing your yarn. So this is going to be the prize for our 5th Podiversary. There will be a thread in the show notes, sorry, not in the show notes, in the Ravelry group specific to this giveaway. So the prompt for that giveaway is, I'd like you to tell me what your favorite color is and why that makes you happy. If you don't happen to have a favorite color, just tell me a color that you like or a color you're liking right now, anything about it, and yeah, what about that color makes you happy? You might have just heard Smudge barking. He's just telling us that he's very excited about this giveaway. So yes, those are our prizes that you can win. And I hope you can enter really soon. I'll leave that giveaway open for at least a couple of weeks. So do go and check out the Ravelry group. There'll be a link directly to that thread in the show notes. Okay, it's currently the 3rd of September. So you've gone into the past, but into the future from the clip you just saw. So it's all very confusing. And apologies for the change in quality. I just went to record these prize announcements on my normal camera and the memory card is full. So I'm recording on the iPad, which is what I used to use for podcasts. But lately I've been using my camera because it's better quality. But here's Smudge. He's very tired. He's had a couple of days where he's been home alone all day. So I've taken him to the dog park to get out his energy, and he's now having a little rest. But without further ado, let's announce these prize winners. So this is 2 out of 3 of our prizes. These yarns were donated to us by the lovely Jana, who is a friend of the podcast, Jana Nav on Instagram and Ravelry. And I'm also giving away a copy of the pattern, just checking my notes, called Radical Red, which is by Anna Kuduja. And this is a photo of that pattern here. So yes, I wanted to add an extra prize to the pot. And when I saw that pattern was called Radical Red, I thought, how could that be, you know, anything but the perfect prize pattern for the red along? Of course, you don't have to use red when you knit the pattern, but, you know, it's a good idea if you do. Okay, winners, let's get to the good part. So this is a beautiful shawl kit. It's got some red and some lovely aqua yarn. It's got lots of beads and accoutrement. Smudge is interested in the sound. And I used random.org for these, and we had, I didn't write down, but I think there was something like 90 posts altogether. So I drew from posts 2 to 90 using random.org, and the first winner was post number 45, who is Y Jonesy, Yvonne in Melbourne, Victoria. Congratulations, Yvonne. Yvonne knit an ochre cardigan and an All the Love jumper. So she did a couple of red garments. And now, Yvonne, you can knit yourself this beautiful shawl. So please send me a private message on Ravelry with your postal address and I will get that to you. Yay! So the next is this self-striping yarn called Freddy. Yes, Freddy self-striping, as in Freddy Krueger. And that went to post number 85, who was 9craft11 Julia in Brisbane. Yay! So Julia, also friend of the podcast. You've heard me mention her lots of times before because she has made me lots of lovely bags and things, and I met up with her in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago. But rest assured, as I said at the beginning of the prize drawing, I used random.org for these, so there's no favouritism. It was all by chance. And post number 85 showed some gorgeous knitted earrings that Julia made. So do go and check them out because they were really cool, sort of like a lightning strike sort of a shape. And Julia also knit several other red things, but those were the winners for the prize draw. And we'll just film smudge while I talk about the winner of the Radical Red pattern. That went to post number 83, Cashtastic Kate on the Gold Coast in Queensland. Yay! And Kate, the winning post was a chat post, but she also entered her Honey Bop cardigan, which is a pattern by Poison Girls, and it's actually one that I've got in my library and I have on my queue to make. So I must get to it because it's a very sort of funky, sort of grease lightning kind of a style, that sort of thing. So congratulations to all our winners. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit all over the place. I've had too much coffee, a stressful day. Smudge was a bit stressy at the park. So I apologise. I apologise if this is wiggling a lot as well. I think I've got a bit of the shakes. So it's all over the place. This segment is all over, and I'm going to have a nice drink of water and I'll send you back to other version of Melinda. So prize winners though, before I do, prize winners, please contact me, private message on Ravelry with either your postal address or just to let me know you've seen this, and I'll get all your prizes to you as soon as possible. Thank you to everyone for participating. The Red Along is one of my favourite knit-alongs ever, and I really appreciate it. So, bye-bye from Smudge and I'll send you back. Okay, so for the finished objects and some of the works in progress, we're going to go and look at the vlog footage from Melinda of the past. And as I mentioned in the last episode, I'm working my way through my 20 or so works in progress as part of the Crimson Stitchery knit along. So there'll be a link to that knit along in the show notes as well. You'll see I had a few issues with some of my projects, but that's fine. It's all still ticking along and things are finishing up, at least a little bit. So enjoy. Okay, with some percussion in the background, you may be able to hear Damien is practicing, he's taking drum lessons. He's taught himself to play, so he's having some training to just refine his techniques. This is on Whip Watch -3, because I think this is the third project that looks like it's going to be close to finishing. This is the Ritual Shawl by the lovely Mars, who is Hey Brownberry on the Hey Brownberry podcast. And here's Smudgy. Sorry, there's all my mess in the corner. Don't look over there. He's been a little bit on edge because randomly a Rottweiler just appeared at the window. I think it belongs to some people, young children who are delivering papers. But yeah, that was a bit random. So Smudge is on high alert. Hopefully we'll be okay. And just get him off the knitting. There we go. So when I say close to being finished, this is how close we are. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 stitches to go on the bind off, which is the knitted cast on. Now, I did do a count earlier, and the fact there's 15 and not 16 confirms that I seem to be 1 stitch short, because this gorgeous knitted cast on uses up 4 of each of these stitches. So 1 repeat of this pattern uses up 4 stitches. In my previous episode, I tried my best to explain how a knitted on border works, so refer to that, or I'm sure there are many versions on the internet, be that YouTube or written on the Googles, that can explain it better. So yes, the fact I am missing a stitch, I might have to fudge it somehow. well, I will have to fudge it somehow, but I might have to, I don't know, pick up another stitch or something. I'm not quite sure yet. I'll worry about that later, which won't be too long to go because it's very close. Now, I do have to get into a third ball. I think, where's the end? I was so close to using just 2 balls of my edge stitch. That's not a problem. I've got plenty of the yarn I'm using, which is this one from Bendigo. It's 50 gram ball. I've written 54 grams and that says with kitchen scale, and it went smudgy. Smudgy! There's smudgy. Sorry. Yes, because I thought I would just weigh it with my scales because they're obviously not, what's that word? They're not exact. That'll do. So I thought I'd measure it with mine so then I can see how much I actually used, and it won't be very much. And I think when I got this out I have about 6 other balls of that, so plenty there. I didn't even look at the pattern to see how much yarn I needed. I just started because I figured, yeah, it'll be fine. I've got lots of it. So my point in saying that is it's not as if the pattern told me, you know, one thing and it's taking more than that. Not at all. I haven't looked at the pattern, so I've got plenty of yarn, so I didn't need to. I'm very excited. I've been working on this afternoon. I took today off, Monday and tomorrow as well, which is so lovely. And I've been working on this a bit, doing some other housey things. Smudge and I went to the dog park. It's just lovely. So I'll now join in my third ball and we'll get knitting. Tummy rubs for Smudgy. It's finished! What do you think, Smudgy? You're excited, aren't you, darling? Oh, you are. But yes, I have finished my ritual shawl. So excited. I cannot wait to block this, because then the sooner I block it, the sooner I can wear it. Very, very happy with this. It is a beautiful pattern. I highly recommend it. And I just love the colours. I think they work really beautifully. I did show this in the previous episode, but in case you didn't see, or in case you'd just like a refresher, Bendigo Woolen Mills. It's the Stella base for those first 2. So that's red coral and that one is black pearl. It's 50% merino, 50% wool. And then, as I was just showing you earlier, this is another Bendigo Wools. This brighter red is 100% bamboo. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I will weigh the rest of this extra ball that I just used there, and that'll be in my Ravelry project page if you are interested in how much I needed to use. Look how big it is. This is a queen size bed with smudge for scale, but yes, this is a queen size bed. This isn't blocked yet, but it's almost across. You know, it's just placed loosely. Yeah, so happy with this. It's going to be great. As I was saying earlier, I was 1 stitch short, and that's completely me, nothing to do with the pattern. Obviously, I didn't do enough increases. But all I did was pick up a stitch in between to just give me an extra stitch to join in. I can't even see it now. Yeah, it was somewhere around here. Anyway, trust me. Yeah, you can tell it's not noticeable. So that was great. So yeah, I just picked up that extra stitch, which gave me the right numbers to finish each pattern repeat. And it's done. So happy. I think it looks very nice with Smudge as the model. extremely happy. What a beautiful pattern. Thank you, Mars, for your designing prowess. Smudge just wants to lie back and revel in the excitement as well. He's had quite a nice day. We've been together all day because I've been home. Very spoilt little doggy. And I am very spoilt to now be the owner of this beauty. Oh, hello. Did you notice you were on camera? It's the next day, my final day off in my 4-day weekend. I'm working hard at just focusing on enjoying the day rather than, you know, going, oh no, tomorrow I have to go back to work. So, working on it. What I'm doing right now is weaving in the ends on my beautiful ritual shawl. And something I noticed, well, I re-noticed that I didn't mention previously, is that the yarns I used for the main body of the shawl are actually like a chain ply yarn. So that's the 50/50 wool bamboo. So just for a bit of interest, there you have it. Whereas the brighter red that I did the border is a regular, just, you know, Z or S, I can't remember which way it goes because I'm not a spinner, a regular twisty yarn. Bit of interest for you as I continue the end weaving. I've also got the Bunny Buddy and the face washes soaking ready for their block. I decided I was going to block the face washes after all in the cotton. And then I can stuff the Bunny Buddy once he's dry, and then they'll be 100% finished, and once this is blocked, 100% finished, and then I can officially tick them off my whips list. Car just went past, that's why Smudge is suddenly awake. Okay, back to ends. Next item on my work list today, work in inverted commas, is the second one of my around the block leg warmers. So I had to rip out the beginning of the stitch pattern because I dropped a stitch and then mucked it all up. So I made sure my ribbing was all set, and I've done the first row. And I've just started listening to this podcast, Forest 404, and it's a story, like a fiction podcast. And it seems, thus far, it's set in the future, sort of post-apocalyptic, but technology, like the whole world is technological. But someone's just found an old recording of sounds from the forest. So I believe it's sort of an environmental podcast, but told through the story of fiction. So I think it'd be very interesting. I'm pretty sure I heard of it from Nikki of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I think she had it on her Instagram stories a while ago, and I just hadn't gotten around to it, but I downloaded it for my trip to Brisbane recently. I didn't listen to it then, but I've got it now, so I'm giving it a listen. I'm enjoying it so far. It's my bag made for me by the lovely Julia. There's my girl, Wonder Woman. And then this is my where are we? Love sock wool bag that I've just got the colour that I'm using at the moment. This is all the other colours. Quick reminder, that's the first leg warmer that I've finished. So I'm just starting here, the first of the 4 colours. This yarn is Knit Picks Mighty Stitch. And that's the yarn that's actually called for in the pattern. The pattern is Around the Block Leg Warmers, as I said. That's by Noriko Ho. And I got this pattern as part of the Solidarity Swap, which was highlighting designers of who are people of colour. And that's going very well. Smudge was going a bit silly earlier, so I had to shut him out, but he's come back and he's very contrite now. I've got socks on, but you can see there gone loose, and that's the heel of the sock. These were socks I made for YarnderWoman, but I am wearing them for around the house socks now, because they're hand knit, hand knit, but the hand dyed yarn, that doesn't go too well in the industrial washers that they have at the nursing home. So to save the yarn, we'll save the colours, I'm wearing them. This is Junk Yarn in the Frozen, or the Elsa colourway from Frozen, and the pattern is it Twinkle Trees? It's patterned by Danielle George, who's Little Bobbins, and it's got little trees here and then a pearl reference there. So I'd knit those for Christmas for YarnderWoman a few years ago. Now they make nice house socks because they're slightly too big for me, which is why the heels managed to turn itself round. That might be why they're good house socks. So back to my story and some knitting. Very exciting. This is not only the story in the podcast episodes, but there's talks and actual nature sounds to relate to each episode. So when I thought it was an environmental podcast, it seems, obviously I'm only in episode 1, it's more about looking at the benefits of nature and how in our modern world we've lost that. So this goes really well with a lot of things that is mentioned on the Slow Home podcast, or that we've been looking at in the Patreon experiment for the Slow Home podcast, which was about awe, but about nature. So looking at how spending time in nature is actually good for us and not being in nature is detrimental. So this is wonderful. So I've got, sorry for the flashing, I'm trying to get the screen to stay on. So talk about the physical and mental health effects, like from a science perspective. And then we have just the sounds of the rainforest that are mentioned in the first episode in the fiction part. So this is really interesting. And then it seems we go to another episode of the story, and then more talks and nature sounds. We've got frog chorus. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm having a very nice time listening to that. The knitting is going well. I'm about 5 rows into there. Got smudgy on my lap. Wonderful. And the podcast is talking about how spending a little bit of time in nature, be that a forest or even a park or just a tree, because we don't all have access to a lot of big nature, and some of us can't get outside easily, all of those things. But if you can store it up, but that even looking at a picture of nature can have the same benefits, and listening to it, and I think that's what the research that they're going to be referencing, in the different ways that can benefit us. So it's just fascinating that even just a picture of nature. So I think the experiment that's referenced is people who were in hospital recovering from surgery recovered faster if they had a picture of nature, or even better, were looking out the window at nature versus looking out the window at, a car park. So yeah, fascinating stuff. So this is Forest 404 podcast, but some other sources I would highly recommend on this, the Slow Home podcast, as I referenced earlier. That's not all about just nature, but nature there's lots of episodes about that. One of which is an episode with Florence somebody, I'll put it in the show notes, but she has written a book called The Nature Fix, and that's all about this research and how nature and spending time in nature actually gives us physiological as well as mental improvements. And yeah, that we can store it up. So if you spend time in nature, even just once a month, that can even store up and help your immune system, your mental health. It's just wonderful. The first one has a bigger eggplant section. Could that be because Melinda didn't check the pattern and didn't remember that it's 2 repeats of the pattern for each colour? sigh. Never mind, it's actually not that bad. It's 44 stitches on bulky yarn, but still, that's annoying since I'd already had to rip some of this out earlier. Rip that out earlier. Not today, previously, which is why it ended up in the whip pile. But that's okay. I'm going to rip it back now and start again. It's actually okay because in terms of, it's easy to see where the colour changed, and it's easy to work out the pattern of, as in stitches of knits and pearls. Maybe it's my circadian rhythm because it's the afternoon, I'm in a slump, and that is relevant to the bit I'm just listening to in the podcast now. The episode that was just on of the story involves going down into depths of a dark underground city. And so the little explanatory podcast is about our circadian rhythms, and it's a chronologist speaking about that. And that reminds me of another book I listened to recently, which is called Chasing Sunlight, I think. I'm pretty sure the author was Linda Geddes. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes. So that was all about, circadian rhythms and how we need the sunlight and how we need light to function. And so the problems that come from people who have to do shift work or, too much blue light, all those things which are sort of becoming more and more apparent in our modern lives. Really interesting book, very engaging as well as factual. So I'm going to get back to that and then rip back and continue. It's funny because you can sort of see here the little loops here, loops of stitches that form the pattern. And as I was knitting along, I was like, oh, that's cool, the bottom of that loop connects to that one. Not remembering that doesn't happen. The bottom of that loop should be the bottom of continuing loop in that colour. But never mind. There's obviously a reason for this. The universe has given me this experience for a specific reason. Maybe that specific reason is just to give you something to go, oh no, about on the podcast and have a bit of a giggle. Who am I to judge what the reason is? Never mind. Onward and upward, or in this case, downward.
It's like hungry hippos, but the stakes are much higher.
Someone call the ambulance. Yes, Smudgy. You bring frequent distraction. It's another day. It's the weekend now. Lovely. That footage was from the other night when I was knitting away as Damien and Sophie and I were all chatting and playing with Smudge, and I was still knitting away. Yet somehow, yet again, despite this pattern being really simple, and I really want to clarify, it's not the pattern, it's me, I seem to have messed up which row I was on this part, because see here, the patterns are made up of lots of knits and pearls. Here I seem to have done lots of just knits and just on that place. So I think because I haven't been using a marker for my round, I just look to where the end is, like where I started. But I think because it's in essentially ribbing, it's knits and pearls, it doesn't, fold down as much. So when I'm knitting, it's quite straight. And I suppose that I have misjudged where the end of the round is, and therefore either kept knitting or started knitting in the wrong place and done it several times, but then stopped doing it. Yeah. Maybe I should enter this in the complicated along that Skate Enables running, because it's sort of, the traditional definition of complicated, but also what's complicated for you is that it needs, you need to read at the pattern all the time. Dear me. Again, totally my fault. Well, let's blame Smudge. It is your fault, darling. Oh, how could anyone blame that gorgeous face? Anyway, I'll rip back as I've said the other times I've had to rip back, there's not that many stitches and it's easy to sort out. But I think I'm going to start using a stitch marker, like a progress keeper, that I can move up and down. Anyway, I am watching a new to me podcast, Yards of Happiness. And look, here's a little doggy. That's Jelly Bean. And this is Dana, who is Yards of Happiness. And she, as you can see here, knits jumpers for Jelly Bean, but she also makes copies of jumpers or sweaters that she makes for herself so that they're matching. I posted one on my Instagram feed recently, so I'll insert a picture of that here. But it's so cute. And yeah, definitely dream, isn't it, Smudgy? We're going to match. I suggested that all four of us, so Smudge, Sophie, Damien and I, have matching jumpers. Sophie's kind of on board with it. I think Damien's going to need a bit more convincing. So yeah, comment below if you'd like all four of us to have a matching jumper, and we'll try and you know, use that wave of enthusiasm. But until then, I'll rip back this, watch some more of Dana and Jelly Bean, and here's that picture of the two of them wearing the matching jumper. Clearly, I'm just supposed to have a lot of footage of this project. Something about this needs to be shown, or I'm being called to be, you know, have humility. I don't know what it is, but I clearly did not work out where I was in the pattern properly when I pulled back my previous mistake. Because yeah, what do we notice here? The pattern sort of, you know, zigzags. Oh no, then it goes straight. Oh, it's just so great, isn't it? If it went... Oh, I'm sorry, darling, I'm not crying. It's not really. You're okay. Oh, blurry smudge. There we go. At least I have some good company while this is happening. I am watching my good friend Kalisha, little Quirky Monday Craft Cast. She's making that awesome face at Smudge's best friend, best doggy friend, who is Tootie. And this is Kiva. Tootie didn't want to come outside, so he's shut inside and now staring. Kiva just looks like she's just totally zen. I love your crochet top, Kalisha, and your awesome hairstyle. Winning. But yeah, I don't know what to do with this. I mean, I'm obviously going to rip it back. As I said, if it was for me, I'd just continue, it's fine. But it is a gift, and while the recipient, I'm sure, would not care in the slightest, you know, I'd want to make it right. So, yep, I'll rip back again. And I might work on something else. What else I've got to work on is another rolled brim hat. I finished the first one. I'll show you that later. This is the same yarn, well, sorry, the same colourway. It's not the same yarn. I haven't ripped out the entire hat. Knit Picks Felici in the Sunset colourway. This was also given to me by Jana to be used as I saw fit, so it's lovely charity projects. This yarn is great for charity stuff because it's soft and durable and washable. So I might just do some basic knitting on this and let this, as I said, there's obviously some reason I'm supposed to keep reknitting this over and over and over. So even though we are now, you know, in works in progress, I'm still going to show you a finished object because why not? This is the finished rolled brim hat that I was just talking about. So Felici yarn, I did a 3-needle bind off at the top. And that way when it goes on, there's little cat ears, which is very cute. They don't really go with earrings. Benefit of shaved hair is that you don't really get hat hair. But yes, lovely little hat. This is going in the charity pile. It's not blocked yet. I just cast it off last night. So I'll block it later. And then it will have a matching pair when I finish the second one. I'll be taking that with me tonight, so I'll be knitting during the Web Rumors gig, which will be fun. Now, I cast it off last night when we were watching the last few episodes of the TV show, well, not TV, but the series, Cobra Kai Season 2. It's on YouTube Originals. This is the series that's continuing from the Karate Kid movies. So I think last year or the year before was the first season, and this was Season 2. And oh my goodness, I got quite upset in the last episode. You know, it's karate kids, teenagers, and there are karate tournaments and karate fights, so I don't want to give you any spoilers, but something happens to one of the kids and it's like, oh goodness, that's really upsetting. Damien just looks at me and says, it's not real, it's just a show. And I know, but highly sensitive, that's me. So my point being, I cast off the hat because I just wanted to get it finished, and I wanted to cast on the new one because I knew I needed an easy project to take with me tonight. But when we first started watching the show, I cast on a scarf. And this is how much I've got done. A few episodes ago, I showed you some scarves I'd made with 10mm needles using 3 different yarns held together for charity, and that's the same. So for some reason, I'm partway through this row and stopped. I can only imagine, you know, Smudge was jumping on me or something. So let me just finish so it's a bit easier. There we go. I don't know if you could hear that. Thicker 10mm needles with the metal are quite loud, so that's why I don't, well, I mean, this is a bit much to take to a nightclub anyway, but in terms of the conference I was at recently, I didn't want to take those because they're a little bit too conspicuous. But this is the scarf. I really love how the different colours are working up, and you've got these sections where the colours are blending in. The yarns that I'm using, I've got 2 worsted weight that are in the same colourway. It's Knit Picks Felici worsted in the hopscotch colourway. So I've got 2 of those. So I'm holding those 2 together, plus a fingering weight, also Felici, and this is the Vibrant Violet colourway in the Stroll Brights. I think this colourway is just part of the normal Stroll range. I don't think they have a specific Stroll Brights anymore, so this is an older one. So I'm holding those 3 together, and I think the colours are looking really lovely. And I just started them at the ends of the ball where they were up to, which luckily was at a different place. So you can see here at the beginning, one of the worsted was in blue and one was in yellow, and then I've got the Vibrant Violet going through. But then in this section, both the worsteds ended up being at the pinky purpley colour, and you can sort of see that there, the fingering weight yarn is a different colour, but it's very similar. So that means whenever those colours meet up, it comes out the same. And I think that's really fun, just gives it something a bit different. And you can see in these sections, it's blue and yellow on both sections here, but that's one ball is on blue and one is on yellow, and then here, it's one is on yellow and one is on blue, they're reversed. So this is really fun. I'm really pleased with how the colours are turning out. And if you're familiar with the Karate Kid movies or the Cobra Kai shows, Cobra Kai is, you know, the baddie karate group, and they have the slogan, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. So I called this knit first, knit hard, no frogging, which I think is hilarious. So funny, I'm so funny. But yes, this is sort of my, you know, knitting that doesn't require any thinking, garter stitch project that I just keep for, yeah, watching shows. I've taken it to places like the doctor's, but it's in this big project bag, and with the 3 yarns in there, especially the 2 big worsted ones, it's not so convenient to carry around with me, whereas this little bag with my new little hat is much easier. This bag was made for me by Isabel from Fluffy Fibres, which is gorgeous. So yeah, this is my easy take around project. This is my easy knit at home project. So I'm really enjoying working through my works in progress and ticking things off the list. I've actually printed out all the, oh, I do have it here. Printed out all my works in progress on an A4 and have little columns. That red square is just because there was a space and I thought I'd colour it red because I like red. So I've got my works in progress, the action I'm taking and the date completed, and a little tick box. So ones I finished, the ritual shawl, the cotton face washes. I haven't ticked off my bunny buddy because I still haven't stuffed the head, so I don't want to tick it off till it's absolutely finished. But I am enjoying very much working through those and getting through them, but that doesn't mean I don't want to start new projects. So as you already saw, I've got the scarf and the hat, but those are more for, you know, just because, just to have something easy. I'm doing a mystery knit along as a new project. I haven't cast it on yet, but it started yesterday. It's the Moonflower MCal, and that is by Larissa Brown, the designer, and it turns out she has quite a few patterns that are inspired by the moon, and you know, as per my moon phases tattoo, I'm quite partial to the moon. And so, oh my goodness, I haven't written it down. Someone, a lovely viewer on this very channel, told me about this knit along, so thank you so much, you know who you are. And the clues are being released, as with, if you're not familiar, a mystery knit along or make along, the clues get released usually weekly over a certain period, and for this one they're being released on the dates of the changes in the phases of the moon, which is very cool. But it's called Moonflower because it's talking about the flower of that name. I'll just read it. It says, the new moon is a time for beginnings, and this week we will cast on a new celestial shawl inspired by the night blooming moonflower, a blossom with a fairy tale name that opens its giant petals under the moon and stars. Our shawl will follow this flower's relationship with the moon as she waxes and wanes. This week we start with a slender beginning and grow towards the quarter moon. And when you purchased the pattern, there was some pre-cal information that gave you some hints on which colours to choose, because it's a 3-colour shawl. And these are the colours I am going with. Aren't they beautiful? So pretty. So actually I won't say there was details of inspiration of what kinds of colours you should choose. I won't go into that because that's you know, relevant to the pattern. But the 3 colours I'm choosing, and I'm still deciding on which will be colour A, B and C. I've got to decide what I think. But the colours I've got, this stunning, and this is Jinx yarn, who's sadly no longer dying. She had to stop for health reasons. So this is all, and I obviously wanted a base that matched across the whole 3 skeins. You can knit with different bases, like a plied yarn versus a single ply if you want, but they will look different and block out differently. So I wanted to keep it to the same base, and luckily I had that available in my stash. So Jinx yarn single merino, and the colorway is Wonderland. I actually got this as part of a kit a few years ago where I got this and an Alice in Wonderland pattern, inspired pattern, and an Alice in Wonderland bag. And the pattern was called Advice from a Caterpillar. And so I was going to use this yarn for that, but I'm going to use a different yarn for that because it's got some cables and it's really pretty. I actually want to cast that on soon. But I thought that is going to look great in this shawl. Next is one I got a while ago as well, Circus Tonic Handmade. That's Hannah over on the other side of Australia. How are you going, Hannah? So this is also a single ply. As I said, I got it a while ago, and I have a few other colorways I bought at that time, again, that I was going to use together with something, but this is coming out now to be part of this one. This is the Providence Petrel, as in the bird. So Hannah, I'm not sure, she definitely uses colourway names from Australian nature, or just generally nature. But back at this time, which, oh gosh, several years ago, it was all bird names. So the Petrel is that one. And then the third one is another Jinx. As I said, she's sadly no longer dying. Gunmetal Grey. So this is part of my very beautiful and healthy stash of Jinx yarn back when the Australian dollar was quite equal to the American dollar. I got quite a lot. I'm very grateful back then, but also now, because then I've got it, especially when she stopped dying. Yeah, so yeah, 3 beauties. I think because it's based on the moonflower, I wanted to have some greens and silvery colours. Hence I used that as my sort of selection. I was actually bringing out lots of different colours and showing Sophie, the Yarnder team, and she's studied art, so she's very cluey on colours and contrast, so she was giving me a lot of, you know, good guidance on that. So thank you, Sophie, if you're watching. But yeah, pretty. I've got to wind these, because as I said, the first clue has come out and I haven't started yet, but that's okay, I'll get there. While I was looking through my stash for yarns to go in my Moonflower cowl, I was trying, as I mentioned, several possibilities, and 2 that came up were these pretties. So this is the Cyborg's Craft Room. Again, this is yarn I stocked up on back when the dollar was good. Very sadly, Megan, who is the dyer, passed away a couple of years ago. So that sort of makes my stash of hers even more special. She was so creative, such a tragedy. These 2 plus a grey, it wasn't this grey, it was one, these are a plied yarn, these are not single ply. So I had a Cyborg's Craft Room in a grey, and I thought those 3 definitely went beautifully together. But in terms of the properties that you need for the different colours for the Moonflower cowl, they weren't quite right in terms of the types of colours, into the not the hues, but the tones and the contrasts. But I couldn't stop thinking about these. Now, as you know, red is my favourite colour. Then I've got purples, greens. Blue isn't usually up there. I don't really own any blue clothes, I don't think. Oh, I've got maybe a couple of like navy shirts, but I love it. I love these, especially this bearded one. So these are both the Asocolate base, which is a 75-25. And this one is I Will Follow You Into the Dark, which is a lyric from one of Damien and my favourite bands, Death Cab for Cutie. Was also the name of an episode, of quite a key episode in Grey's Anatomy. So lots of feels and associations with that one. And this one is called Stepping Stones. So, as I said, I couldn't stop thinking about these, even though I knew they weren't right for the Moonflower cowl. And then I remembered I just bought this pattern, folding the print out, all funny, which is the Trelawney shawl by Time Swedish, who is the cleverest stitch. And it's Trelawney as in Sybil Trelawney or Professor Trelawney from Harry Potter. And the cleverest stitch, which is Time's maker name or designer name, is another Harry Potter reference, which is Hermione is known as the cleverest witch of her age. And so Tyne is the cleverest stitch. And this shawl is beautiful. You can see here, it's 2 colours and there's different stitch patterns and then tassels as well. And there is a knit along for that shawl as well this month. I don't know when I'm going to get all this knitting done, but I'll at least cast on. As to whether I finish, that will be yet to be determined. But I thought these 2, because this one is tonal, sort of variegated. You can see here different shades of blue, like beautiful. So yeah, I definitely say it's more of a variegated, but it's a little bit more similar in its colours than this one, which is definitely variegated, and you've got blues, blacks, dark browns, lighter colours. So I think that even though the contrast is not that good, it doesn't matter for this shawl. In that pattern, that's 2 very contrasting yarns, but it doesn't have to be. You can use any colours you like at all. And I think these 2 are going to be it. So Professor Trelawney is a Ravenclaw teacher. So Ravenclaw being one of the houses of Harry Potter. Houses as in, you know, factions, groups. And you can do an online test to see which house you are, and I'm in Ravenclaw, so the same house. And Ravenclaw's colours are in the book blue and gold, in the movie blue and silver. I prefer the movie colours because I'm really not a gold person, silver, grey all the way. So I think this is going to be my Ravenclaw shawl because it's Professor Trelawney and it's going to be blues. So I just need to get all that yarn wound, find the needles I want to use, and start knitting at some point. There'll be time, right? I'm sure I'll fit it all in, you know. I'm sure work won't mind if I just knit at my desk instead of working. Be right. So I wanted to tell you about some other make-alongs that are happening on other podcast groups that are ones I'm going to enter with all my various projects here, so that you might like to know as well. So obviously there's one I already mentioned, the Crimson Stitchery Whip Along, that's going to the end of the year, or the 2nd of January 2020 I think. There's the Headspace Hats Make Along, which is in the Hey Brownberry group. Sorry, I'm just reaching over here. So I'm going to enter this hat. That one is going till the 1st of September. The Successful Make Along, also in Hey Brownberry, that's going to the 15th of September. I'll have to check, I'm not sure what the rules are on that as to if you had to have started the socks at a certain time, I'm not sure. But there's a few pairs of socks on my works in progress list that I could try and get finished before that deadline. You know, just add that to all the knitting I want to do in the next few weeks, it's fine. The Archive Along, so that is being co-hosted by Twisted Stitches podcast and the Kilda Craft podcast. That's running all year, and that is if you use a pattern that you got before 2019. So it's a way of, you know, using up those patterns that we bought, things we loved, we wanted to make, but you know, haven't yet got around to. So that's definitely there. I can't remember, I mean, obviously not the Trelawney shawl or the Moonflower Cow, they've just come out, but that's fine. There's other stuff I can put it on, enter in, whatever. So that was about using up your patterns, using up your yarn. There's a couple of podcasts doing a stash buster. The What Shara Made podcast, hi Shara, she's over on the other side of Australia. She's got the year-long stash buster make-along, and that closes 31st of December this year. And then on a similar vein, you've got the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. They're doing #StashCal 2019. That also closes the 31st of December. So there's a few other podcast make-alongs that you might be interested in entering. To my knowledge, they are all open to, you know, poly dipping. So if you want to enter one project, if it fits several categories, then go ahead. You can enter all of those in all those make-alongs. Thank you so much for joining me. I've really appreciated your time and I've really loved being here with you. Don't forget to go and enter the contest for the Podiversary, podcast anniversary, all of the above. That's your prize possibilities. People who won in the read along, congratulations. Please do get in touch with me. And for everyone else, come and chat on the Ravelry group for this episode or underneath here on YouTube. I would love to hear from you whenever I get comments. It's really lovely because I like having that a bit of back and forth conversation as well. If that's not for you and you just want to watch, that is fine as well. Thank you so much for your time. I am now going to go and finish getting ready and then off I go to see Web Rumors. I'm also going to have dinner first with my friend. Oh, and I have to show you my t-shirt. So it's Tori Amos boobs. Yeah, no, that sounds wrong. They're my boobs. It's Tori Amos. The Light Princess, that is a musical that the singer-songwriter Tori Amos wrote, and I haven't seen it, sadly. I think it's only ever shown in London. But I got this t-shirt several years ago off her website. And the friend I'm going out with tonight is a huge Tori Amos fan as well, so I thought that was quite appropriate, as well as the fact we're seeing a mostly all-female band, you know, female musician. It all just worked out well. So yes, we're going to a plant-based restaurant first for dinner, and then heading to the show, and it's going to be lovely. I haven't really been out in this capacity in quite a while, and I also haven't seen this friend in quite a while, so it's going to be a lovely night. So how lucky am I got to spend the afternoon with you. I'm spending the evening with my friend and some great music. I hope whatever you're doing, you're having a lovely day, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye bye.